What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of Breaking Bats, presented by Not For Long Media. I'm Brian O'Grady. It's bright and early here in Japan. With me is Justin Ayers. As always, J.A., what's going on, dude?
I'm really good, man. I'm glad to see you, wide and awake this morning, ready to do a little podcasting and start your day off. But I have something really quick off the top for everybody. And this just might be called a quick rant. I need to get something off my chest and I want to talk about something. This goes out to ESPN and Sunday Night Baseball in particular. Please stop putting microphones on players during the games. I've watched tens of thousands of games without them before, without having players mic'd up before this. It's cringy. These guys don't like to talk. The questions are trash. And I'm going to point you, case in point, to last Sunday night's Mets and Angels game. I'm sitting there and watching it with my dad, and they stick a microphone on the least electric human to play baseball. It is Mike Trout. And so Mike Trout gets up there and they cut the mic off. He's at the plate and he strikes out on a check swing. And then he gets the dugout and he obviously doesn't want to talk. And then there's Carl Ravitch hey, what'd you see on that fastball down the middle that you didn't hit? And then Trout has to answer questions about that. And then their list of questions for Mike Trout was so you like the weather, huh? That was literally a question. It's because he's friends with Jim Cantori, the weather guy. And he's yeah, I love following the weather, blah, blah, blah. Riveting television. And then they had to ask him about the fantasy football stuff with our guy, Tommy Pham, calling him the worst commissioner ever. And you could tell Trout wanted nothing to do with it, but he stuck around. And then he just kind of went into his little turtle shell and just said about 3 words to every question. So these guys don't like being mic'd up during games. It's distracting. It's uncomfortable. It's cringy. And they pick the worst ones. So I need to get that off my chest. I've been stewing on it since Sunday night. This is my little therapy session. So I appreciate it.
Micing up players is, I don't know. It's tough because it's just so weird in the middle of a game because you're playing and yeah, especially hitting. You don't want to be mic'd up talking to people while you're hitting. It's hard enough. I know Todd Frazier did it before and it was a pretty good one and he had a hit. There's some good examples of it, but nope, I don't think any player is going to be I want to be mic'd up for the game. They don't want to. If they're asked, they might reluctantly kind of accept, but no one's going to be yo, let me be mic'd up. Come on. Please let me do it, because then you got to watch what you're saying. You got to it can't be yourself. Most likely I get why they're doing it, but I also agree with your rant.
It's so distracting because you're right. It's these guys, they don't talk to them while they're hitting. Thank God. That would be, I think they do that in the All-Star game. I want to say maybe Freddie Freeman had that during the All-Star game, but that's the All-Star game. It doesn't really count. This is meaningful, pennant chase altering baseball. And then it's and even when they're not mic'd up, you still got to ask them about every time they're mic'd up, it's just something tragic happens. It's they strike out or they do something dumb. And then it's always Carl Ravitch with, what'd you see there? It's come on, man. I don't like this. I feel bad. So my heart goes out for anybody that's mic'd up. And then they always do the thing where it's who do you want to be mic'd up next week? It's how about no one, Carl? How about literally no one? You guys have the mics. That's your job. So it's so bad. So just, Carl Ravitch, chill out. Anywho. We have some news this week. Segue out of that. We'll start us off with some news this week. Padres, your San Diego Padres, red hot. Acting manager Ryan Flaherty. I'm just going to I'm going to write his name in for manager of the year now. Maybe I put that out as a tentative because they're tied for first in the NL West after, their win against the Cubs here last night. So if you had to make the call right now, what are we thinking for NL West?
I'm just going to do it, man. I'm going with the Pods. The Dodgers are very good, but they're the Padres, Fernando Tatis has yet to step on the field, and they're now tied in first place. They've just played. They've figured out ways to win games, man. They've done really well. Flash manager of the year, really happy for him. But they, I don't know, man. It seems like the Padres last year there was so much like hype and stuff going on about it too. This year it seems like it's a little more calmed down for them, even though they're playing really well. And the Dodgers just, I don't know, man. Something seems like this sounds ridiculous, kind of, because they're still in first place and they're the fucking Dodgers with that lineup. But something seems off. Bueller's down for a while. I mean, could be. We'll see how he progresses too, but it could be even longer than what they're saying. But he's shut down for, I forget how long. So he's got to ramp all the way back up after. So he's down for a while. Kershaw hasn't been throwing, so I think he's back now, or he's coming back soon. But Muncy's struggling. Bellinger's still not, Cody Bellinger. They're just, I don't know, man. It just seems like there's some chinks in the armor there. I saw people were mad at Trey Turner for not running or something with 2 outs, and he didn't score. And he said, I don't even know that. It was weird. I don't even know the whole scenario. I think they were down 2 runs or something, or maybe it was more. And he was like, basically afterwards, he was like, my run doesn't mean anything. And people were like mad about that. I don't know. It just seems like the Dodgers are in a weird spot, even though they're in first place still, and they have Mookie Betts. But I'm going to take the Pods.
I'm right there with you. I love the way the Padres have assembled this super deep rotation where you got guys like Mackenzie Gore has been shoving. Yu Darvish last night.
Unreal.
It's been like they just tried out these guys, and Snell's getting back up there to his old form again, and Clevenger I think is out right now, maybe on COVID something, but that's another arm when healthy is going to be fantastic. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm rolling right there with the Padres and our guy Flash.
Our sponsor for the show, the original Fudge Kitchen. You can find them at Fudge Kitchens with an S. That's fudgekitchens.com. Selling all sweets and treats. They ship all over the country. Saltwater Taffy, fudge. If you are one of our Philadelphia area or Jersey Shore listeners, they have stores all down the shore. Cape May, Ocean City, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor. If you're down there, go check them out. The best summertime treats. That is the original Fudge Kitchen, and you can find them at fudgekitchens.com. What's our Fudged Up Moment of the week, J.A.?
So this is also going to be sticking with the Padres. This one goes out to the bad visual that Robinson Cano put out on the internet. So Robinson Cano was a Padre for, I think it was like 12 games. He hit under 100. They cut him. He tested free agency for a week, and then he's like, you know what? I'll come back. I'll take the minor league deal. He went to the El Paso Chihuahuas, and his very first game in AAA, like he's been in AAA, maybe on a rehab assignment, but never like sent down to AAA in a while. His very first game, he was forced to wear the SpongeBob SquarePants jersey. And it was just hilarious. This guy who has like almost 3,000 hits. He has like 300 something home runs in the show. He's like a decorated, like one of the sweetest swings in baseball. And the very first game in the minors, it's like theme night. He's wearing SpongeBob. So that was tough. That was tough for Robbie.
Yeah, that's a welcome back to the minor leagues moment for sure. They you never know what jerseys they're going to whip out there in the minor leagues. I mean, I don't think when I was in El Paso, I don't think we wore SpongeBob jerseys. We did wear margarita jerseys that were like literally highlighter yellow, like shirt, like pants and top, not just like top, like pants too. And the pants were brutal. But you couldn't miss us running around out there on the field. So, yeah, they just, man, they'll put you in anything to try to sell some tickets down there.
It was just so funny. The timing could not have been worse for him. I'm sure he doesn't love, being there in the first place. And then it's like, oh, by the way, SpongeBob.
He's like, man, sitting there. He's like, I got to wear this fucking 2-flap helmet again. The old minor league helmet, and you're going to make me put a fucking SpongeBob jersey on? Are you kidding me? Poor Robbie. Not poor Robbie. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's doing just fine.
He'll figure it out. He'll be right. He'll be good as gold. He's probably got several $100 million in the bank. He's fine. But that was a very funny visual. I did have one
That's
last news thing for us, and it goes out to guest and friend of the podcast, Frank the Tank Schwindel. So on Sunday, the Cubs and Yankees were playing. Yankees were blowing them out. It was 17-4 when they called on Frank to pitch in the eighth. And Frank pit through, I don't even know what kind of pitch this is. Ephus, I don't know what he was doing, but it was 35.1 miles per hour is what it was clocked at. And Kyle Higashioka smacked it for a home run. And we made history. That was the slowest ever recorded pitch to be hit for a home run. So shout out Frank, you finished the inning. But yeah, what a sight that was.
It's kind of impressive all around because Frank, I don't know how you throw a pitch that slow and it's like remotely by the plate. That's unreal. I'm sure that's what like he was trying to throw it as slow as he possibly could. That's wild. Higashioka hitting it out might be more fucking wild. I don't really know how you do that. There's no way I could do that. But I'm just thinking that whole scenario, Frank's not too far from home in New Jersey and he's on the mound in Yankee Stadium throwing 35-mile-an-hour fucking softballs in there, which is hysterical now that I think about it. But I don't know, man. The position player thing, pitching is getting a lot of hand, in my opinion, in the major leagues. Like Dave Roberts tried to bring in somebody when they were down like 5 runs or something, and then they wouldn't let him.
Yep.
I mean, if it's a, I don't know what the score that I think that the game Frank pitched in was pretty well out of hand there. I know like when I know like when Yachty pitched or Pujols pitched, they were blowouts, but I think it's losing its, I don't even know what the right word is. Like you don't go to a baseball game to see a position player up there throwing fucking 40 miles an hour or something. Like that's not why you're there. So it's way too common, in my opinion, these days, or people just want to do it to save their bullpen. I don't like it. I don't know what they should do, but something's got to be done because it's getting a little out of control, and I just hate seeing it because it's just not real. They just Matters trying to save a bullpen instead of sending a guy down or I don't even whatever, just trying to give guys more rest, and I just don't think it's good for the game.
I'm right there with you. If you're watching it on TV, you would have changed the channel. If you're at the game and it's probably late, you would have left probably by then anyway. But if you had to be an emergency pitcher, first of all, have you ever had to be an emergency pitcher?
No, I have not actually done it. I almost did it in Cincinnati, but they let Kyle Farmer do it instead, and I was very glad because I don't know, dude. I think that's a lot of pressure. I like because it sucks, and then I'm scared that a ball's just gonna get smoked right back at me. One, and two, I would like softball it. I would like throw it, and I would like back off the mound and be ready for it to be like
Field your position. Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And then you don't want to not throw strikes, but it's not that easy when you're just like 35-mile-an-hour in a ball in there to throw a strike. So it's just like a lose-lose situation all around, I feel like.
How fast could you throw it if you did have to do that?
Oh, God, if I really tried?
Yeah, well, like what's your fastball, you think?
That's a really good question. I have not thrown a ball from the mound as hard as I could in a long time. Back in the day, the last time I threw hard, I was like 87, 88. But that was like sophomore year of college.
Oh.
Yeah. So I haven't, and I threw 13 pitches in bullpen trying to hit 90 in summer ball in college. It was like 87, 88 the entire time. And my arm hurt for the next like 2 months after that. I'm not even kidding.
You had to get Tommy John. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It was killing me. But that was a long time ago. I don't know. I don't know what I got left in the tank anymore. I try to throw as little as possible and save my bullets for the game. Put it that way.
I dig it. Yeah, because you got a lot of practice stuff going on there. All All right, two last things, and then we'll get everybody to the interview this week. We have the guest performance of the week, and this one goes out to friend of the podcast, Texas Rangers first baseman Nathaniel Lowe. So I saw a graphic. I was watching the Rangers game last night. This guy's month of June has been incredible. 341 average, 4 home runs, 6 RBIs. He's slugging 682, and his OPS is 1037. So shout out Nathaniel Lowe. You said you were talking to him, just mashing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, ever since he came on here, we're not going to take all the credit for what he's done, but I think we helped him just bring it out a little bit more. Obviously he's the one doing it, but I think we helped him just
really find himself,
come out of his shell. Yeah, just a little bit, But yeah, we've been talking because after we did the interview with him, I texted him again and I just said thanks, whatever, man. It was great, and I said like hit a homer or something like that, and then lo and behold, no pun intended right there, but lo and behold, that night I see it. He hit a homer, so I texted him again, and I was like, "Shit, man, guess you gotta keep coming on pod." And he was like, should I just be like a weekly segment, or how do you want to do this? So and obviously he's just been hitting really well since then, and it's kind of coincided with me turning it on too. So we just kind of been joking about that, but yeah, really happy for him, man. He's been waiting to see it more, man. He's got power. He's got pop. So he's but he loves being a hitter first. So he doesn't worry about that stuff. But now we see it both sides. He's being a hitter, and that power's coming out. Just pumped for him to see that happening.
He's the best. Yeah, I mean his swing, he's got so much power in that, you could tell. Even when he swung the bat so hard it flew out of his hands last night. I put it on Twitter, but he had the most earnest reaction. He was like, "Oh my god!" He threw the bat almost at the guy behind him.
He swings a log too.
Yes,
it's a big bat he swings.
Yeah, no, that guy's the best. All right, last up for everybody, we're gonna do our top 5 for the week. This week we have the top 5 best baseball ballparks. So I'll start us off, and then you can give us your list. I'm gonna go 5 through 1. Number 5, I'm going to Petco Park. I just think through this podcast, through osmosis, maybe I've become a bigger Padres fan. So love watching Petco, and Brian can speak to obviously playing there. Number 4 is going to be the rival, the Dodger Stadium. It's just so much history. You could just think of Vin Scully on the radio and no hitters and World Series. So got to have Dodger Stadium in there. Number 3 is going to be Wrigley. There's something about the ivy, and I know it takes like 2 months for the ivy to physically grow in there, but I don't know. There's just old school, the bleachers, the cup snakes. I love everything about Wrigley. Number 2, I'm going hometown Baltimore Oriole Park at Camden Yards. The ballpark that changed baseball, I think, is its moniker. Just awesome. Boog's Barbecue, the warehouse. And then number 1, and I'm wearing the shirt today in honor of this, it's going to be PNC Park for the Pittsburgh Pirates. You cannot beat the view of the city of Pittsburgh from PNC Park. There's hardly any seats in there, so there's not a bad view. It's just beautiful. So that is my top 5.
Those are all definitely good ones. I can't argue with you there. Have you been to Dodger Stadium?
I haven't. That's definitely on the bucket list.
Yeah, I ended up somehow not playing there last year, so I haven't either. But the rest of them I've played in, and they're all great. Your little hometown favorite there, but they're all great. Mine are number 5. Mine are an interesting mix, but number 5 is going to be the Rangers' new stadium, which I believe is Globe Life.
Is it Field or Park? I get them mixed up.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but whatever. That place is. I mean, it's an impressive new place. I love the indoor, outdoor, whatever one it is. It's just a beautiful new stadium, man. It's gigantic. It's just the facilities there are great. Just a really cool place. It's right next to Cowboy Stadium, which is a monstrosity, by the way. I don't know if you ever get down there. It's crazy, but that's my number 5. Number 4, another newer stadium. I believe it's Truist Park, Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
Their new stadium, man, beautiful. Right field, short porch, just a really cool looking place up there. The whole like around it is a cool area. It's not situated right like in Atlanta, which is cool. Just a really nice park, really nice facilities, everything. Loved playing in Atlanta. Number 3, we're gonna go with Fenway because Fenway is Fenway. Now the only reason it's probably not number 2 or maybe even number 1 on my list is because when I was there, it was the COVID year, so there were no fans. So it wasn't, I didn't get the full experience, but Fenway's Fenway, man. The Green Monster, it's like the aura of the stadium. It's just so cool. Red Sox, man, it's what a place. But number 2, Wrigley Field for me. Wrigley, you said it. It's just the old school. It's how baseball should be, man. It's just you see the seats across the, outside the stadium, across the street, and people sitting up there watching the game. The Ivy, I hit that brick trying to catch a Kyle Schwarber line drive. It did not feel good, but really good. Just a cool place, man. The state, like it's this, the seats are so dark, and then the field is so like lit, and the atmosphere and the fans feel like they're on top of it. It's just, it's an amazing place for sure. And then number 1, man, I sound like I'm just playing to some of our listeners here, but Petco Park is number 1 for me. It's beautiful. I mean, playing there is the best. The stadium itself is beautiful. San Diego, the weather, like during the summer, it's just, you can't beat it. It's just perfect. You see people outside the stadium or on the hill watching the game. The crowds have been electric there. They love it. I mean, San Diego loves the Padres. It's a perfect place, man. Beautiful facilities are great. And I remember sitting there talking to Joe Musgrove and being like, dude, looking around like anywhere you play after this is kind of going to suck because this is so nice. Like, what are you supposed to do? And he's just like, yeah, man, like this is it. And so Petco's number 1 for me. Petco is just awesome. So that's my 5.
I like that. Yeah. Mine are from the fans' perspective because, yeah, you're right. It's got to have it. I take into account different factors than what you did, which is interesting. It's cool. So, yeah, let us know on social media at Breaking Bats Pod. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who won? All that fun stuff. So, yeah, that was our top 5 for this week.
PNC is beautiful. No doubt about it, too. PNC is a good spot. But, yeah, there's a lot of nice stadiums out there. There really is. It's there's not too many bad stadiums. Put it that way. Our guest for this week, the Reds writer from The Athletic, Trent Rosecrans, my good buddy. Man, awesome episode. Talked about a lot of stuff. Talked for a while. So this is gonna be a longer one, but just a lot of interesting stuff in there. Stuff about the Hall of Fame I found really interesting too. He's one of the writers and the voters for the Hall of Fame. So that was cool to hear some of those little things. But just in general, man, a lot of kind of state of the Reds, a lot of stories from when I was there and things that were going on. We kind of all of a sudden, it was a half hour in and me and him were just kind of bullshitting about stuff and hadn't even really gotten into anything yet. And I was like, oh God. But a lot of fun, really good dude. What'd you enjoy about it?
Just the stories. Like, he's so well connected. I feel like he's just like, dropping like, yeah, I was talking to Ken Griffey the other day and yeah, me and Barry Larkin were shooting the shit. I'm like, what? This is insane. Just the most well-connected Cincinnati sports figure guy. It was awesome. So yeah, people are really going to love it.
Yeah. He's been there for a while. So definitely our Cincinnati fans are going to enjoy this one, but yeah, overall it's good baseball stories. And I was cracking up. Ken Griffey Jr. is my favorite player of all time. And I haven't gotten to meet him. I got to meet Senior and I got to know Senior pretty well while I was with Cincinnati coming up. He used to help out in minor leagues. But that's funny that Junior is such a big Star Wars fan and that they were talking about that stuff. So that's a good story for people to listen out to. But yeah, we'll go right to it, to our interview with Trent Rosecrans from The Athletic. All right, and today with us on Breaking Bats, we have The Athletic writer for the Reds, Trent Rosecrans, my buddy. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Great, good to see you. What time is it over there?
It is 11:10 p.m.
Okay,
now.
That sounds about right.
Yes, but it's Monday here. We're off on Mondays, and this week we just finished interleague play, so they give a couple days off in case of rainouts. We didn't get rained out, so we actually don't play until Friday again. I'm off tomorrow too, and then we're practicing for 2 days before we pick play back up.
That's one of my favorite things about Japanese baseball: practice.
Yep, practice. So
it's so different. Were you prepared for this?
No, I was not. But for everybody listening, as we just told JA before this, Trent lived in Japan, went to high school in Japan. How long did you live in Japan?
Just 2 years. But
2
my
years.
junior and senior years of high school.
So he has a good idea of baseball, of Japan in general. So yeah.
It was a long time ago, but it's still pretty similar. It's funny, like Japan, like so much changes so quickly and so little changes at all. So like the technology is always moving. There's buildings are always changing, neighborhoods are changing, all that is, but like the core always seems to stay the same.
Yeah, they definitely, it's still just very traditional. They still just do some of the things they do is just because that's the way it's been done. And I wrote
so in college, I was a history minor and I had a class, Japan and the Samurai, where it was just like, we watched a lot of cool movies, but we did a lot of studying about the samurai and feudal history and blah, blah, blah. Well, we had basically that professor, I had him for many classes, Dr. Carl Friday. He, like everything was, I think like that one, I think 90% of our grade was one paper. And I wrote about like the Japanese baseball players, the modern day samurai, and like the, Bushido, the codes, the practices, all these things, all these parallels. The fucking sacrifice bunt. Oops, can I say that? But yeah, good. Yeah, sacrifice bunts, which they're less now than they used to be, but you've still seen some crazy sacrifices, haven't you? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I've seen they're definitely more common here. It hasn't happened lately, and I can't remember if it was preseason or if it was during the season, but there was one time where another team sack bunted with a runner on first and 1 out. And that's when I was like, wow, like that doesn't happen in the United States.
It didn't work out.
That was the one time. I'm sure it didn't, but who knows? But yeah, when they did, I'm in the outfield. I was like, wow, okay. That was different right there.
Yeah. You take the out.
Yeah. They, it's funny, man. I'm so used to everything now that I don't even think about the differences as much. Honestly, like from batting practice, how different batting practice is here. And, you said practice in general, there's no show and goes here. It's, the weekends are, which isn't terrible either. It would be nice. The Saturday and Sunday games are a little rougher. Saturday's 2:00, so it's night game to day game. So if we're at home, I'm up pretty early for for myself during the season. It's like 7 a.m. because I got to take the train and stuff. And then Sunday is like 6 a.m. because I'm on the field at 9:15. So I wish I could sleep a little more for my beauty rest, but
I can see Manny Machado and Eric Hosmer in the field at 9:00.
Yeah, But those guys, I can't even complain because some of these other guys, man, they're like, first of all, most of them live in Tokyo, so it's an hour drive for them to get there. So they drive back after the game, and then they got to drive there in the morning again. And they do like 4 times the stuff that I'm doing.
Right.
I don't even know some of the stuff that they make the younger guys do, like to get ready for all that. So I don't know how I'm tired. I don't know how those guys are doing any of it. So I can't complain at all.
That's awesome. No, like I don't know. Like, so like, I always kind of think about guys when they go over there, and I've known several, and the people who have the most success are the ones who just embrace it. And so that's why, like, this last year, I knew you were going over, and I knew like, that's a good fit. Jesse Biddle, that's a good fit.
Yep.
And it's the people who like go over there and like, I don't have anything else to do. I don't have any other offers. Those guys really struggle.
Yeah.
And for the guys that like yourself are going like, hey, I'm going over here. Let me embrace it all. Let me embrace it all. Whether it's Japan or Korea, Dan Straley was in Korea for a while, and I just caught up with Dan the other day. Just crush it, because they're like, you have to be in a good mindset. Like the game is so hard, and it's so like beats you down, that if you're in a bad mindset about where you're living or where you're playing, you're screwed. You're in an 0-2 count. If you just have a bad attitude about where you are. And like, you see that in the upper minors too. Like, you can think of all the AAA guys who are just there. They're mad, and it's like, you've already got a strike on you. Why would you do that to yourself?
You couldn't be more right about both of them. Absolutely. When I asked Scott, because seeing good players come over here that I've played against and not do well at all, like do very poorly. And I was trying to figure out why, because obviously I didn't want that to happen.
Right.
And that was really the answer that I got, was because not because they did that, but that the players who have the most success are the ones who embrace it and are open to all the stuff. And yeah, you're right about the upper minors too. I mean, listen, I've been there. It sucks going up and down. It's not fun to go back to AAA, but yeah, I mean, you're there. What are you going to do? You're going to be mad and stink, and your performance is going to suffer because you're mad about that. No, you got to figure out your way to, have fun still and be a good teammate and have fun with your teammates, because that's huge. You got to find the guys who, if you're not one of those guys, like Blake Trahan was always a guy like that. If I was pissed off, Blake would say so. I would just start cracking up, because
Blake is
that guy's the best.
Oh my God. The characters that you meet in this game, like Blake is one of a freaking kind.
No doubt.
No doubt. You understood about half of what he said. Like, this all the Latin guys have interpreters. You have an interpreter now. Blake could have used an interpreter.
I know, right? JA. So Blake Trahan, yeah, he's from Louisiana, man. Little dude, was a great shortstop. He went to UL Lafayette and is like straight up Cajun. And yeah, some stuff I played with him for I don't even know, at least 4 years, and there were still things he would say to me, and I'd look at him like, dude, I don't know what the fuck you just said to me. Like, it's like, but he was just, he made it to the big leagues, got there a little bit, and he retired, man. He's funny, but he just was always, every day, man, like one of his favorite things he would say, would come in and he'd walk like he was this gigantic, like 6'5", just brick house, and he was like, I don't know, 5'10", like smaller dude, like built good, but just like this, just his presence, he'd come in and be like, it's opening day, like yelling, just all excited every day. And he'd be hitting like 220 every day. Same guy, didn't matter, but he was best, man. I'll never forget, he gave a speech when we were in Daytona about palm trees, saying how when it's stormy, they just sway in the wind. They don't fall. They just sway in the wind. And that was his metaphor of when you're struggling, that's what you gotta do. But when when he first came to we were in Daytona and that team was loaded in 15. That was like me. It was I went up and it was like Amir Garrett, Nick Travieso, Chad Wallach, Joe Hudson, Blandino, Sparks, like that whole crew of prospects back then. And Carlton Dahl got hit in the face by a pitch right before the playoffs. So Trey Hanna just got drafted, was in short season, JA, and they brought him up to play shortstop for us in the playoff run. And he didn't say like a word. Like you couldn't get a word out of him back then. Go to spring training the next year, and he was his normal. Like he was like too scared because he had just gotten drafted or whatever. So the next year, I go back to spring training. I'm like, dude, where was this for the last 3 weeks last year? You didn't say anything.
You know, it's amazing. Like I believe this with, you know, since I've been around baseball, I believe this so much. If you're a good dude, your career will be longer. There, you know, like you see guys and you're like, you know what? He's going to be in the big leagues 2 years longer than he should, just because everybody likes him. He's smart. He does what's asked, always has a good attitude. You know, he's playing great right now, but Kyle Farmer is one of those guys. You know, it always seems like they're catchers like that, because catchers are smart, you know, like a AAA catcher who's going to get called up back and forth all the time. Corky Miller is the king of this.
Oh, Corky,
like this is kind of what you're going. My favorite Corky story. Spring training, you know, you're there and there's this place between the two big league fields at the Reds complex where there are always autograph people. Of people looking for autographs and signing. And hey, Brian, O'Grady, can you sign? And I don't remember who it is, and it's probably best that I don't remember. Like these two guys just kind of walk and they're just complaining, like, "Ugh, these people are always here, always just bugging me," and blah blah blah. Corky just looks at him and goes, "Don't like it? Play worse," and walks away.
Buzz is the best, man. That guy is gold.
He's unbelievable. Still in the Reds organization as a coach. And like when Corky's there, everybody's happy. What the other thing is like Corky, there's no shit with Corky. He's one of those guys that, like, you know, you can be the highest prospect and you'd be like, yeah, he's not good enough. And he doesn't care. He's not going to baby anybody. They're all the same. Everybody's the same. You have to perform. You have to be good. He's going to tell you what you've messed up. He doesn't care about your feelings. And that's what makes him valuable. And that's what made him valuable as a player. That's why he played for so long. And he had, you know, when you're up in those upper minors and you're a free agent, you know, you can make some decent money, not like big league money, but there are guys who earn some money just because of what they do. And Corky was that guy for years because it was like another coach that you could have at AAA. And, you know, the people who are bitching about it, Corky's not going to deal with that. Any young pitchers, Corky's going to make them better. Young catchers, Corky's going to make them better. And those are the best people in the game. And that's what it's fun to be around, is those guys who make everyone else better.
That's really well said. Buzz is one of a kind. All those things are true. We could do an entire episode worth of Buzz stories without a doubt. But
I bet
we'll just Corky. A good way to sum it up is that quote is and in Louisville, there's 3 numbers retired. It's Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reese, and Corky Miller. Those are the 3 numbers that are retired at Louisville Stadium. That's Corky. Corky Miller is a legend there.
Tyler Stevenson wears 37 because that's what Corky Miller wore. So I mean, you have this stud, you know, catcher, top prospect, first round draft pick, wearing a weird number like 37 because that's what Corky Miller wore.
Because of Corky. What a guy. I miss talking to Corky, like just when he would come around to wherever I was, man, it was the best. He would make it so much better. God, I love that. But how did we originally meet? Was it not until AAA or big league camp when we first really started talking?
I don't know. I mean, it might have been double A's, triple A. I always make a point to go down to the minors.
You know what I think it was St. Patty's Day and my last name. I think that's how we somehow got connected.
I'm always looking for like weird angles, and it's like, of course, this guy is like, this is like the best because the Reds always wear the green jerseys and have O'Grady. I mean, it's just perfect. And so like I started talking to you, and then like you're in the minors, and I talked to you. All-time best. I'm doing this story about Luis Castillo.
Yep, there it is. This was coming.
And I text like, hey, shot in the dark, you were on this team when Castillo was pitching for the other team and there was the nastiest brawl. You got a couple minutes? And like Brian's like, oh hell yeah, I just finished the game. After I get changed, give me a call. Like, okay, cool, who does this? Brian O'Grady does this because he's the best. And so we chatted, and like the stories you told me of that one, that was in Daytona, right?
Yep, that was Daytona. I told JA about that brawl, but yeah, I think earlier that year, I think that's when I started to play pretty well, and we were talking a little bit, and then I remember sitting in my apartment in Louisville and getting that text, and I was like, oh yeah, I was there.
But like I love like going down the minors. I'm always on the backfields during spring training. Because like the main games are boring, and so like you go down and you see some of these guys. Like I remember the first time I saw Billy Hamilton, like vividly.
I bet
because like what it was one of those, you watch enough games, you expect certain things. So I see him hit the ball to like I think it was left center, and I'm watching the ball. And then my gaze goes to like, oh, there'll be a play at second, and watch him pull into second. And like I go from the ball over here, and I'm like, he's not there. I look back, and then I'm like, oh, he's there. And it was just like, oh crap, that's different. The kid I saw this year, by the name of Ellie De La Cruz. He is just
I heard that name.
Dayton right now. Is this like 6'5" shortstop, skinny as a rail, but like 70 plus power, 70 plus speed. Like the other day in Dayton, I saw this one where it's like he got fooled on a changeup and just kind of flips it. It goes 400 feet to left center. He's a lefty, or he's a switch hitter, and he's batting lefty. And it was like, oh God. And like, I don't know. I love seeing those guys first. You get to know the Blake Trahans. You get to know the Taylor Trammels. You get to know all these guys. The Brian O'Grady's, you watch, and then you get to know. And like, when you come up, like my favorite thing in the world is the call-up story. Like everyone is kind of the same, but they're all great. Like the other day, they did one of Chris Oakey, catcher in the Red system.
Yeah.
I
know Oakey.
And they did the video, and you just saw everybody was so happy for Oak, and I don't know. I love the call up. It is your dream come true. I remember when you got called up, I was so excited, and I can't imagine, like, if I was that excited, I could imagine what it's like for you, your family, and everybody. It was awesome. It was awesome.
I was very close with Okie when I was with the Reds. When I saw that, I was very excited too, because he really, everyone talks about grinding. He had to grind to get to the big leagues, and he was a higher pick and he struggled a little bit, but he never stopped working. And he's one of those guys that is kind of like Corky, funny, man. Oh my God, funny. Just ridiculously funny, but a good dude and works hard. And when you see it, I texted him right away. I'm like, congrats, man. That's so awesome. But yeah, the call.
What's your call story? Give me your call story. I know I've heard it before, but
mine. We talked about this No, it was Jody. It was Jody. So, okay. Which was cool because Jody got to see like the whole change kind of in me because he was my manager in Double-A the year before too. So when I made the adjustment that I did then, I wasn't like, I wasn't an everyday guy. I was just kind of in there whenever he could fit me in, but I played all over, so it was easier. But I started to really hit. So he was trying to find ways just to get me in the lineup. Like he stuck me. I would take ground balls at third base with Taylor Sparks because he was my good buddy, but also first base was boring anyway. And it was just a million degrees in Pensacola in the summer, and Sparks would be by himself taking ground balls for 20 minutes and like dying. So I was just doing it to help him out half the time too. But like Jody one day showed up. He's like, "Hey, I had a dream last night," and I looked at the lineup and I'm playing third base. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And but they I gotta throw this in there too. I gotta thank Shed Long for part of this because
my guy.
Shed Long, your guy, my guy too. I started to hit well. I wasn't playing a game in Jacksonville, and Shed, I think for the second time within a couple days, was on second base and forgot how many outs there were, and a ball smoked to the left fielder, and it just dropped in front of him, but he didn't, he like waited to see. So Lenny Harris had to hold him up at third base. So Lenny was pissed. Everyone's pissed. And whatever, innings over, they take him out of the game, put me in that game. I think I homered my first at bat in the game. So I started the next day, hit 2 homers the next day, and was just kind of like off and rolling. So thank you, Shed, too.
Thanks, Shed, for not remembering the outs.
Yeah. But so
thanks for fucking Jody, up, buddy.
Yeah. So Jody had me there, and then I went to Louisville later that season. And then the following year, Jody was my manager in Louisville. And that's when I had the really good year and got called up. So that year we were I was getting a little frustrated. It was the beginning of August. I'd been playing well for a long time. Hadn't been called up yet. And we had a Sunday day game in Louisville. We were off on Monday, and Tuesday we were playing in Lehigh Valley, which is 40 minutes from my parents' house. So I told them Sunday after the game in Louisville, I flew back to Philly. My dad picked me up at the airport. Yeah, at like midnight. So the next day, because they were busing overnight to Lehigh Valley too. So I'm like, I don't feel like doing that. So I go back. I slept till like noon. I went to this is so stereotypical, my favorite cheesesteak place around the corner from my house. No shit, was sitting on my parents' couch eating my cheesesteak at like 2:00 in the afternoon. And I get a call from a number, and I didn't have it in my phone.
Like the only thing would be more Philly is if you're bitching about the Eagles while you were doing it.
I was not bitching about the Eagles at the time, but probably not too far off either. But a Georgia number popped on my phone, and I didn't have it in my phone, but I'm like, this is either some bullshit spam call or this is Jody and I need to answer it. So I answer it and I'm like, hello. And, his voice, his Southern accent and everything. He's like, hey, Brian, it's Jody. And I'm like, Jody, what's up, man? He's like, are you in Philly? And I'm like, yeah, why? And he's like, shit. And I was like, why? What's up? And he's like, well, you're acting for the Cincinnati Reds tonight in Cincinnati. And I said, oh, fuck. And that was and it was funny because he started, like I said, it was like 2:00 or 2:15 or whatever. And I had to get to Philly airport to fly to Cincinnati. But he started to give me like his little, his spiel about how proud he was of me and like the difference from last year. And after like 10 seconds, I was like, Jody, like, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. But like, I have to figure out how the fuck I'm getting to Cincinnati by 7:00. And he's like, just Gober, our trainer, who's the, also like travel secretary. He's like, just text Gobes and he'll let you know what you're doing. And yeah. And then I texted Jody like afterwards saying, thank you. He sent me like a long text about everything. But yeah, that was it. And Luis Castillo was on the bump for us that night. And I was late to the game, but thankfully he threw really well. and I was on deck when Tucker Barnhart made the last out in the 8th, so I didn't debut that night. But yes, that's my debut story.
That's pretty great. So
Good
so
times.
you got to the field, and then like you have to get ready, and then like, oh yeah, you grab a bat, son.
It was
that Riggleman?
No, it was it Bell? Yeah, it was Bell.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was
19.
It was Bell. Yeah, it was 19. I don't know why I can't remember that. Yeah, it was Bell. It was brutal too. Is I landed at like 7 or 7:15, and we sat on the runway in Cincinnati for like 40 minutes. I was flipping out. I was losing my mind, but it worked out. And then and then I got to talk to you more and got to see all that, and it was a whole lot better.
Had to talk to Tommy Thrall.
Old Tommy, God, and now he's God. That's big another time. One I forget about. Yeah, Tommy's big time now. Tommy, big time. All of us in Pensacola. He hung out with Gage, who's one of my good buddies, who was our clubhouse guy in Pensacola a lot. So I know Tommy very well. I'm very happy to see Tommy doing his thing in Cincinnati now. It's awesome. He cracks me up, man. I forgot about that too.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
I know. There was a lot of really good people.
Like all the ties that baseball is such a small world, and you get to know guys, and it's the people who make the most of it, who are the guys you're going to be around forever. Like there's a couple players I still talk to. Like we'll chat, we'll throw texts together. I have one that calls me. He'll call me like every 6 months and then just like talk for an hour, and we'll just talk. And then like I saw him somewhere, and he just grabbed me, and we sat and we had dinner for like 4 hours. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. It is, man. And it really is. It's cool. You get to meet a lot of people from all different walks of life, whether it's players or writers or whatever it is. I talk to you still. I talked to a few other guys from the Rays, just from talking to him. I mean, one of the guys who used to write for the Rays, Josh Tolentino, is he's still with the Athletic, I think. Is now the Eagles guy.
He's with MLB.
He left.
I think he's covering the Dodgers now.
He's the Eagles. No, he's the
Eagles. No, I was thinking of somebody else.
Juan Toribio is with the Dodgers now.
Covering the Dodgers, right?
Who I still talk to too, both of them. But yes,
that's good dudes.
Yeah, good dudes. Just it's cool how it kind of comes full circle, and you just I don't know. You just tell.
So you like bugging Josh about the Eagles and shit?
Yep. Oh yeah. I'm like, dude, what's going on? No, he's I was pumped for him. He was asking me some stuff, when he first got it about where he should live and looking and things like that in Philly. But that's an awesome job, man. That's a lot of people gonna read it. That's for sure. Yeah, some strong opinions there. But J.A.
Philly guys.
No, never. No strong opinions for us. But J.A., get in here. What do you got? Let's get it started.
Yeah, no, I'd love to talk about just like this crazy up and down year that the Reds have had. And even going back to April, like when Chris Castellini made his comments, like, where are you going to go? Like when you first heard that, did you know it was going to be as big of a story as it ended up becoming?
Not really. It was just like, Phil, that's some dumb shit. And then like, you just like, he said that, and like, I hadn't heard of it, and I saw him down on the field, and I didn't know what was going on. But I don't think it would have been as big a deal if he didn't double down on it. And, the fan base was already upset because they had gotten rid of, they let Nick Castellanos walk free agency. They had made some trades just for payroll. And when the owner says like, hey, it was pretty obvious that they did all this for payroll. And then the owner says, well, we don't care about what the fans think. It was like, oh, okay. And it still hurts them. I mean, it's still part of it. I think that's going to be a stain for a while. People aren't going to forget that, nor should they. Like, that's your customer base. You don't insult the customer. I will give them this. I mean, at least it was honest. Usually those guys aren't honest. It was dumb. You don't say it, but Yeah, it was nuts. So that was quite interesting. That day, it's funny because like it wasn't exactly opening day because the Reds always open at home. It's one of the great things about covering the Reds. You always know you go from spring training to home, except for this year. For the third time in their history, their first game was not at home. There was a rain out like in 1956. The first two games got rained out and they started on the road. 1990, there was a lockout. Reds started on the road. This year, they started in Atlanta. So I was in Arizona, go to Atlanta. Then they had a 2-game homestand. And that was the sort of opening day. And like opening day is huge in Cincinnati. There's a parade. There's like, you'll get it packed out. Nobody will care the next day. But that day, it's like Christmas and it's a big deal. And so it was already kind of weird that it wasn't real opening day that day. But then he goes out and makes a total ass of himself. And it like the game was just not important. Nobody cared about the game. It was secondary. Like, I don't think I wrote a word about the game. Might have been just like, oh yeah, Bieber shoved and the Reds lost. Now, and that's the other thing. It's like you come out and then you have to face Shane Bieber. And like that's bad timing because like if the team goes and wins, you could be like, see, we're great. No, man, they're facing Bieber. You're SOL to begin with that guy on the mound. And so they lost that game, then they lost the next. And then, so it was a 2-game homestand, and then go to LA and San Diego.
Oh,
so yeah, like that's a big old hang with them. Like, you start in Atlanta, defending champs. Yep. We had all the big like ring ceremony, all that, and then go to LA, San Diego after a 2-game series at home, and one of those games being Bieber.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we were in Arizona and I'm talking to David and I'm just like, David, you look at the schedule and I'm trying to remember who they came back and played. It was somebody, I think it might've been like Milwaukee or somebody good. And then San Diego came back. And it's just like, I was like, David, you look at the schedule, you could start like, I don't know, like 5-12 and play well. And then they started like 2-13 and they did not play well. So like it just kind of bottomed out. You had the owner saying that you're 2-13. Where else are you going to go? People are like, I don't know, but it ain't there. So like it was tough and like so many injuries. The short spring training, I think, was tough for everybody in baseball. And there's a lot of those things that got caught up. Like their starting pitching was terrible. Like to start the season, like those guys were going 4 and 5 innings. Malley didn't start well. Castillo was injured. Minor was injured. You had 2 rookies in Green and Lodolo in there. Another in Reaver San Martin. And then, what we've seen now is that starting pitching stabilized, and the bullpen is now the issue because, well, the starting pitching isn't. Nobody cares about the bullpen when you're down 5-0 in the fourth anyway. Like, oh, the bullpen gave up a couple runs. Who cares? You already lost. But when those guys, like I think last week I did it, like the starters had put up like a 1.99 ERA over the previous week, and that was with Minor having a bad start. They've got some guys. Green is impressive. Graham Ashcraft is somebody who people didn't really know much about. I knew a little bit about him just because 2 years ago he came in pumping 100 and you're like, oh, okay, in spring. But he's pitching well. He throws bowling balls. When he has a 2-seamer and a cutter, both at like 99, 100. And like, that does that. Like as a hitter, it's just like, you're either going to get like busted on the hands or the end of the bat. And it's hard to barrel when it's a 2-seamer and a cutter, right? I mean, it's just like they come in the same place and then you got to guess. And when it's 100, you don't have a lot of time to guess. And if you're guessing out and it's a cutter, woo. I mean, or depending on whether you're left or right-handed, I think everything left-handed, like you're just like, oh, that's bad. Like, cause that could, 100 to the face probably doesn't feel great. And then when you do hit it, I was talking to somebody, it was like, when you do hit one of those like 102 seamers, it's just like, that hurts the hands. If you don't barrel it, you're just like, all right, I rolled over it. Just get me back. Like, I don't want a bat in my hand. Like, probably, I don't know, you would know this better than I. Like, those like hard two seamers or cutters, you hit that, and you're like, just stay fair. I'll go back to the bench. I don't want to like do that. I don't want to have to hold the bat again and swing again.
It's no joke, man. Stuff coming in that hard and moving like that. It's not the most fun, but it's what we got to figure out, right?
I always say, like, it's like, I don't understand how, like, hitting's impossible. And for, and nowadays, like, 100 used to be like, oh, 3 digits. Like, everybody in the crowd goes, oh, well, like, Hunter Green averaged 100 in his first start. Averaged. And so you're just like, oh, this isn't like special anymore, but it's still like 100. Like, if I stood in the box, I would have to wear brown pants because to camouflage what I would do to myself. Like, what you do is impossible. And then it moves. Wait, it's not just 100 straight. And like, guys like you, like, if it's 100 straight, you can hit that all day. You will hit the shit out of 100 straight, but it moves. And it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? I'm always surprised. Like, nothing like, and this is from afar. And so again, this is someone who watches too much baseball. It's like, these guys are nibbling at 98. Why are you nibbling? Why would you not just be like, go at a guy? Because if you have that, throw it in the strike zone. What are they going to do? You know what? A couple of guys are going to barrel it up. Tip your cap. But if you're not walking guys, it's a solo shot. Like some of these guys is like, they get hit every once in a while, but they double up and walk everybody in the world because they're nibbling. You just throw 100. Don't fucking nibble. Drives me insane. Because that makes the game.
That's the I'll give it back to Jay right here in a second. But yeah, that's one of the big successes in my opinion for the Rays is that's what they tell their guys, basically. Yeah. I mean, generally speaking, they're not trying to hit corners. They're hey, you got good shit. Pete Fairbanks said it to us on here. They're like, hey, you got good shit. Throw it over the plate. Make them hit it. Just throw it over the plate. That's it.
It's funny. Like, I always thought like maybe nationally guys would get a little bit of a break back in the old days when there was a difference. Like I always think like for pitchers, shouldn't like going up 3 times a week, shouldn't that remind you how hard it is? And just be like, oh yeah, this ain't easy. Why am I giving this guy so much credit? Like, if I'm a pitcher, I don't give a batter any credit. But it goes the other way too. Like, one of the funny things is trying to ask Joey Votto about a pitcher. Joey's going to give no pitcher nothing. And he's not going to give it away. Joey's, as you know, Joey's one of a kind.
Yes, he is. Joey's playing chess, man. But
yeah, no, like you
got to literally and figuratively,
but also like it's unbelievable. The guy just, I mean, even like I'm guessing for like you go into that clubhouse and you're just like, wait, am I playing the same game that this guy is? Like, I'm gonna go knock the snot out of the ball. This guy's thinking like 3 other levels.
He's definitely on a different level, but he's been doing it for so long, and he's just, I mean, honestly, that gifted too, like with the eye, well, I mean, I know he's changed his approach in recent years, but how much he used to walk and still drive the ball and not strike out and not pop up anywhere to the infield. Like, I mean, he's there's not many Joey Vottos walking this planet ever. Yeah. So he's definitely on a different level. I mean, even like when he would hit BP and he'd be like working on whatever, and I'd be like watching, and then I'd look up and the ball he just hit went 20 rows deep to left center. And I'm like, like he's not even paying attention. He's just like doing his thing, and then it's just like ready and getting his next swing going. I'm like watching this ball. I'm like, how the fuck did that just go? Like he's so strong too. I mean, he's different, man. He's Joey Votto.
A freak. I mean, and like that's the thing. It's like you go into this game. There's so many different ways to be good, and there's so many guys that are just like, I was thinking about I was talking to Manny Machado the other day. Now that Manny's dude, great. Like, but like physically, he's just like, I don't like. I mean, it's just massive, but it's also athletic and like the dude, like probably strong as an ox. I mean, like, but yet also quick. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Manny's another specimen. We are, as Jay always says, this is a very pro Manny Machado podcast. Manny's one of my favorites. Joey, one more quick Votto story, and then we'll move back on. But Votto, Jay, there's 19 in big league camp. It was pretty much just me and him at first base. So I spent a lot of time with Joey, and Joey, I don't know if he still does. I bet you he still does. But if not, he used to have this thing where some days, like right before the game, usually a night game, he would take Freddie out there to hit him ground balls. And, he asked me if I wanted to do it with him. And that's a hard, you don't say no to that. Joey's in full uniform, diving, full-blown diving on a backfield at spring training for ground balls, like playing it literally like a game. And I don't even know if he changed. Sometimes he doesn't. I know for a fact sometimes he doesn't. And he would just roll into the stadium 10 minutes before first pitch in a dirty uniform from diving on the backfields for ground balls before he went and played this spring training game. And I had it, and I did that with him. And I was just like, this is like, it's crazy. It's awesome. But yeah. And like
Gober ever loves there for one of his called shots?
No.
Okay. Like it's unbelievable. He called his shot in Toronto this year.
Oh, that's cool. And
then Kyle Farmer told me this story like a couple of years ago. Joey says, hey, if I don't hit this guy, or here's what he said. He said, this guy's going to throw me a first pitch heater and I'm going to hit a home run. If I don't, you can have my paycheck. And Farm's like,
probably like,
hell yeah. Cause that's one.
That's a good amount of money.
It's not bad. And Farm just says, it's like the first time he was ever rooting against a teammate, and motherfucker did it.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. I remember a couple of years ago, like Darvish, the first year Darvish was here, he was throwing this slow curveball. It was, he'd just come over with the Rangers, and you're at Goodyear. And somebody told me afterwards, he's like, Joey turned to their catcher and said, if he throws me that pitch again, I'm hitting it out of the stadium. Darvish throws it again. He hits it out of the stadium.
I believe it.
Just like Brian O'Grady.
Yep. That's I do those things too. That's right. Go ahead, Jay.
I'd love to stick with Votto, but I just want to go back. I misspoke and I got the Reds president's name wrong. I called him Chris and his name is Phil. So
yeah, that's all right.
I want that on the record. I think Chris Castellini works for Barstool Sports. I think that's probably why I think that I got those two mixed up. Anywho, Joey Votto. I love Joey Votto. I'm not a Reds fan, but I think just like him being on social media this year, I don't know. It's just something feels different. Like, what do you make of his social media presence? And then have you seen like, where I think he like quote tweeted it was like a Fangraphs article is like, is this the end for Joey Votto? Like, how has he kind of had to like battle through some adversity this year?
Joey, I've gotten to where like nothing will surprise me about Joey. And that's my common thing. And I told them this in spring. I was just like, I tell people all the time, like, you could tell me anything about Joey and I'll believe it. You tell me he cured cancer. Sure. You can tell me he went spent his off season on a cross Canadian clown killing spree. Yeah, I buy it. But like the thing about Joey is, in the social media, he's obviously studied. What really impresses me is he studied each of the platforms. He's studied Twitter, he studied Instagram, he studied TikTok. And so it's not just like one that he does across. He uses them all for their different purposes and their best uses. I've known Joey since like Brian. I got to know Joey when he was in the minor leagues. So I've known Joey for 16 years, 16, 17 years. Joey always kind of goes about his interviews like he goes at his at-bats. Everything has a purpose. He's not going to give in. He's going to get what he wants out of that at-bat or that interview. He's going to get the pitcher to throw him what he wants. He's going to get the reporter to ask him what he wants. He's on a different level, like on all parts of his game. And it's not just hitting, it's how he comes across, and he knows things. Those Twitter, like I use Twitter, I just throw everything off the top of my head. Joey writes drafts and looks at it and sees what could be said or thought of. His Instagram stuff is all thought out. The TikToks all thought out. He's last year he said, and I think this is kind of continued, he really started having fun again. And it was about having fun. And you can tell that he's having fun. He told me the other day that he finally got his swing locked in. So, when he gets his swing locked in, things are going to happen.
Love that.
Absolutely. Why do you think he's remained so loyal to this organization for so long?
Well, he had a big, long contract.
Well, there's that.
And also like Joey's a guy who likes to control things. And I don't know, like he doesn't crave everybody knowing who he is, or I think he's seen some people, one of the things I think you have to remember is when Joey came up. It was 2007, the end of 2007, his rookie year is 2008. He saw the end of Ken Griffey Jr. in Cincinnati. Here's a guy who thought he wanted to go home, who left Seattle and left his home and was looking for somewhere else. And things didn't quite work out for Ken here in Cincinnati, like he had hoped, or like anyone had hoped. So it was a little different. And I think that probably, I've never talked to Joey about this. And, but I think that probably had a impact on him. He saw that. He saw that even for, where's Ken Griffey Jr. in the history of this game? Even for a guy like that, the grass isn't always greener. And you take what you control what you can control. He knows so much in Cincinnati. He knows where to go. He knows how to be left alone. He knows where he can take his dog. He has all these things. And he has a comfort level. And there's also part of him that he says, those guys who play their whole career in one uniform, there's something special about that. There's something special about George Brett in Kansas City, or Mike Schmidt in Philadelphia, or all those guys. And so I think that's something that he's looked at. And at this point, it would be, I don't know, I have a hard time picturing him in any other uniform. And now we've seen it before, like I'm not sure about Ken Griffey Jr. in a White Sox uniform, or Bo Jackson in a White Sox uniform, but it happened. And, those things can happen. But I don't know. It's just hard for me to see him in a different uniform.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Brian and I talk about this all the time. There is something to be said for guys that stick around in one uniform for their entire career. It doesn't really happen that often. And they get like, so like ingratiated with the fan base, and I love that kind of stuff. But you mentioned that Joey's, he's picked it up since the beginning of the year. His numbers have been better, I think, since he came off the COVID IL.
Yeah.
think he's batting over 300, but for just like the Reds team in general this year, like what does a successful outcome for this year look like? Like, what are they trying to work on for the rest of the year? And, what would fans be happy with?
Well, those are two different questions.
Fair.
I think really what you want to see is kind of more progression with some of these young pitchers. You want to see Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft pitch well, stay healthy. That's big. You see those guys and you're like, hey, these guys have something. And that's a good start. You want to see Tyler Stevenson come back healthy, Jonathan India continue what he did. When you talk about Green, Lodolo, I'm going to throw Ashcraft in there because he's been so good so far. Stevenson, India, you have some pieces. Jose Barrera. I think a big thing with Jose Barrera coming up and playing well. He hasn't quite done that. He's an unbelievable talent, but putting the bat on the ball is, again, like we talked about, not easy, and he needs to be able to do that at the big league level. A big part of it's going to be what they do at the trade deadline. And it's, speaking of weird to see somebody in a different uniform, it's going to be weird to see Luis Castillo in a different uniform at some point, but he's under team control for next year, as is Tyler Mahle, but then free agents after 2023. Is this, I don't see this team contending in 2023, much less 2022. So is now the time to deal those guys. I mean, Luis Castillo is a stud. Tyler Mahle, you get him out of this ballpark, like the absolute worst ballpark that Tyler Mahle can pitch in is Great American Ballpark. Look at his home run splits. I'm a big believer in Tyler Mahle, always have been. But Luis Castillo is the guy that you throw out game one and you're feeling good. And there's not a lot of guys that he hasn't done it at that consistent level. And I think people around the country know the name, but like his stuff is just ungodly. And when he is pitching well, when he's on, he's as good as anybody in the game. And that changeup is just, it is beauty. It is like nothing can make. It's funny. I remember his first year. I was actually in Miami for the All-Star game, but I was watching them. They were playing in Arizona to finish up the season, and watching that game on TV in a bar. And he was pitching to Goldschmidt, and he made Goldschmidt look bad. And like, when does Paul Goldschmidt look bad? And it was just this changeup that was just like, it was the worst swing I've ever seen from Paul Goldschmidt. And I was like, this was Castillo's rookie year. I was like, holy moly, this guy might really be something. And he is really something. That changeup is just, it's funny. Like I do this thing every year where I go in spring training to all the catchers, say, what's the best pitch you've caught in camp? And I got some different ones this year, A, because Louis was injured, and B, because it was like, have you seen Hunter Green's fastball? I mean, it's 103. What are we even doing here? So this year it was kind of like, what's the second best? But for so many years, it was like Louis' two-seamer is changeup. And like the debate wouldn't be like who has the best pitch. It was like which of Louis' pitches is the best. And the two-seamer is pretty good, but that changeup, holy shit. It's I don't know, like I love, one of my favorite words in baseball is combio. Because it always seems like the Latin guys have the best combio. That change. And like I saw it with Johnny Cueto. Cueto's changeup was just unreal, and you see it, and like Pedro Martinez. I don't know why it's the Latin guys. There's a certain flair for the changeup, and I just love the strut after a changeup, because it's like, yeah, I was throwing 98, but that's what you're expecting. Here, let me take this back, and you're gonna look bad.
I've been personally victimized by that changeup, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
The list of people who have been victimized by that changeup is long.
Yeah, when I was in Daytona and he was in Jupiter with Miami still, he was throwing, I was hitting fourth, I think, and I think he struck out the side first inning, just 98, just, pumping that two seam in there at 96 to 98. So I go up there in the bottom of second inning, ready for that. And he throws that changeup first pitch, and I about threw my bat into the outfield and fell over after I missed by 10 feet, So I know exactly. When we traded for that guy, I was like, thank God, I never got to face that dude again. I get to play with him now. Thank you.
Like I could sit down in the outfield.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. When Pensacola, when he was pitching, I would just be like standing in center field, like not even paying attention to the game because he was just cruising. And if anybody hit it, it was just going straight down. Wasn't coming to me.
Well, it was funny. We were talking to David Bell about that the other day. It was funny. It's like, with Ashcraft and Castillo, we make sure we have our best infield defense. With Malley and Green, we make sure we have our best outfield defense.
Yeah. Malley's another one, man. I was with Malley the whole way, Billings straight through. And he bought a used LeBaron, like 2003 LeBaron when we were in Billings, Montana. And he used to drive me back to my host parents' house for dinner after the games with the top down through Montana. It was and then he sold it at the end of the summer. Cracked me out. Never forget that. Good old Tyler Malley. But we'll get to the rapid fire after this, but we have to talk about the fantasy football situation before we let you go. So as we know, Tommy's my guy. I'm a Tommy fan guy. But what was it? I mean, that kind of had to be not a dream, but it was a very good time for you and your job. Unbelievable. So what was that like?
Well, it was weird because I was actually in the Giants clubhouse when it happened.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm in there talking to Alex Wood, former Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to Alex. And then we finish up a conversation. I go outside. And the Giants PR person goes, Trent, what happened? I'm like, what? I was just talking to Alex. What are you talking about? And he shows me the tweets. I'm like, oh shit. So I go back in the clubhouse, and in the visitors clubhouse at Great American, if you go, when you come back up the tunnel, if you go right, it's the clubhouse. If you go left, it's the training rooms. And so I'm going to go right just to see what's going on. And I looked at the left, I hear Trent. I look over and it's Alex. And Alex is like, hey, was there a fight? I was like, I don't know, dude. I was in here talking to you. And I see Jock Peterson kind of pull him aside. And he takes him because he was with Jock. Like, all right. So I kind of look around. I don't know what's going on. And I hear one of the coaches say, yeah, it was Jock and Tommy. It's about fantasy football. Tommy was pissed off about fantasy football. And I'm like, I think it's a joke. I really do. But then we're kind of talking around and maybe it's not. And we go up to Tommy and he's like, yeah. Oh, okay. So then, I'm trying to get the story and I do it certain ways, how reporters do. That's all going to be kept under wraps to protect the not so innocent. But so then after the game, Jock does his thing, violence isn't the answer and blah, blah, blah. And no, it goes into the details. We're like, oh, okay. And it was weird because there was a 2-hour rain delay. So all this stuff, that's all we're doing is thinking about this. And I have that it's fantasy football. I have it on the record from multiple sources. And so I can't write anything until I have multiple sources, something like that. So I've got some of the details and we're trying to figure it out. And finally I'm like, I know when I put this started over fantasy football and he slapped him, that the rest of the day is shot. It doesn't matter what happens in the game. I'm not writing about the game. Well, so the game happens after 2-hour rain delay and Tommy, Jock does this whole thing. We go to Tommy the next day And it's like, I've played the tape for people because it's just so wonderful. I'm like, hey, Tommy, what happened yesterday? He goes, with Jock? Yeah, with Jock. I slapped Jock. He said some shit I don't condone, and it had to be dealt with. Or no, and I had to address it. I'm like, the thing is, though, that's Tommy. Tommy is the realest guy. Like, that's what I said to him. I was like, dude, I appreciate, because like, I know whatever you say, you're not lying. You know, some guys will sugarcoat stuff. Tommy don't care. Tommy's going to tell you the truth as he sees it. And it's not going to be to try to save anybody's feelings. Nothing like that. You're going to get Tommy's unvarnished truth. He is the realest guy I have met in doing this in 20 years. Like that's the only way to put it. What you see with Tommy is what you get. And it rubs some people wrong, but others, like, it's funny. I was walking out of the clubhouse the other day, and I was just talking to another guy. I go, man, Tommy, one of a kind. And I, like, one of the players just overheard it, and he just starts busting out laughing. He goes, you could say that again, man. And it's just like, it's funny. Like, the people I talk to throughout it, like, people love the guy. Some people hate the guy. There's probably not a lot of in between. But the other thing is, you watch him every day. Dude works. Dude plays hard. I would want Tommy Pham on my team. Whether we're playing baseball, if we're in a fight, so every year for years, we would do this game. I saw you did it, Jay, the other day. Like, who would you take in a fight? Like, who would you want behind you? And when Johnny Gomes was with the Reds, it was Johnny Gomes. And, you know, we had all these other ones. And I remember, because you don't always go with, like, the biggest dude. You know, I forget. Well, I do remember who it was said about, but it was funny. Mark Sheldon, who covers the Reds for MLB.com, one year, he's like, someone was like, how about this guy? Because he was like a big looking dude. And and Mark's like, nah, he looks like a bleeder. And then you'll see, like, you'll see guys who always are held back. You know, you can watch every one of these bench clearing brawl or bench clearing incidents, and you see guys who are held back every time. Guys who should not be held back by anybody. And then there are the guys, and I'll put Tommy there. Like, somebody said to me, it was like, nobody's going to hit Tom. The Giants aren't going to hit Tommy because whoever does it is going to pay. Like, he's going to go after the pitcher, and they're going to pay. So, like, Amir Garrett, talk about real ones. Like, we saw that. That is probably still my craziest day in this in history. Were you there? Were you on that team, Brian?
Nope. That was like 2 weeks maybe before I got called up, because we got done.
Yeah. So
I'll never forget it. Yeah, we got done in Toledo, and we're all sitting in the clubhouse still watching this game, knowing that Puig had gotten traded, and Puig was out there in a brawl with the Pirates.
That is still, like, the craziest thing. So, like, you have that brawl where Amir tells Josh Pickler, who David Bell had already been thrown out. Freddie Benavides had already been thrown out. So Pickler is, like, the game planning coach, and he goes to the mound to get Amir. And Jose Peraza is going to come in and position player pitch because it's out of hand. And Amir says, I'm going to go get him. And, like, Pickler's like, no, man. But we're going to let Jose get this. He says, I'm going to go get him. And so Pickler just says, okay, pats him on the butt, thinking he's going to go back in. Amir's going. And, like, then Puig comes out. David's already thrown out. He comes out. He gets tackled by David not David Eckstein, the brother.
Rick, is it Rick?
Rick Eckstein, yeah.
Eckstein.
And you know, he's going after Clint Hurdle. Everybody's on the ground, and, like, then you're like, not only is Puig traded, but he's traded for Trevor Bauer, and it's just like,
Oh my gosh.
It's the most and then the next day, Jared, or maybe it was even that game, like Jared Hughes had hit somebody on purpose. Like Jared Hughes is, if there is a nicer guy, like Jared Hughes and Sean Casey are like this, like level. And Case is a bear, but like Jared is just like the kindest human being in the world. Like in baseball, there's nobody better than Jared Hughes, and he hit a dude on purpose. It was unreal. It was the craziest day. So I think I was still talking about like Fam's going to go after you. And so we always had that with Gomes. Gomes is crazy. He would go after you. One year I said, I thought Skip Schumacher, because Skip's small, but Skip would fight you to the
Skip's
death.
tough, dude.
Skip is tough, and he is like, I could see him like gnawing some shins off, And so like I tell Skip
That's
this
so funny.
one year, and he's like, I appreciate it, but you were high if you don't think that it's Aroldis Chapman. He's like, that dude was a boxer, and he is a freak, and he's also crazy. And yeah. So anyway, that's a joke that we always have, and I think one year Jim Riggleman was my pick, because Riggs
was in good shape.
Riggs is in good shape, and like I wouldn't mess with Riggs. I also wouldn't like mess with PK if PK got really mad.
PK's a wrestler too.
Did you ever wrestle PK?
I never wrestled PK. I watched Nick Senzel wrestle PK though. PK is a tough big dude. I wouldn't mess with PK. He's a big dude. I stayed on PK's good side. Yeah, with the Irish thing, we got that going.
It's funny. He's like the nicest guy in the world. But I remember like I always see PK and he's laughing. Pat Kelly, the AAA Reds manager.
Yeah.
Pat Kelly, PK is just like the nicest human being in the world. He's jolly. You talk to him. He's like, oh, he's got a smile. One year I went down to Pensacola, and I am waiting outside the clubhouse. You guys did not have a good game. And we're waiting outside the clubhouse, and I had never heard anything like that. And I was behind a steel door, and I was scared shitless.
PK has, you've seen him. He has all-time blow-ups for sure. Yeah. Like you see him getting thrown out of games for whatever. There might be, in the time I had him, maybe once a season, twice, maybe, like whenever we, it was just a tough stretch of games where we were doing, we were fucking up, whatever. And he'd let it out. Everyone would be like, oh shit, but it works, man. Everybody respects the shit out of PK. So it's like when like you said, he's great, and he's PK's so straightforward with everything, so that when he did something like that, everyone was like, all right, fuck. We need to like pick this shit up. But I loved it. He's one of my favorites without a doubt. There's a lot of great coaches.
Oh yeah,
with the Reds.
Like so many good guys. I don't know. It's like I said, just the people you meet through this game is unreal. And Tommy Pham, he's always going to be a favorite of mine, because it's real. Like you go up to him and you know what you're going to get.
That's it. Tommy, my Tommy and Amir were both on my picks for who I'd have on my team in a fight for sure. And Skip Schumacher was a funny one, because Skip was my bench coach in San Diego last year. And Skip I wouldn't mess with Skip. Still in very good shape. Still looks like he could fucking go play right now.
Yeah.
Skip is also one of the nicest human beings I've ever met.
One of my favorite people in the game.
He's phenomenal.
Just phenomenal. I love Skip. He's such a good dude. Like that's what I was saying before. You talk about like good guys. Skip probably played 2 more years than he should have, because everybody wanted him on their team. They love him. And there is value in that. There is value beyond what you do on the field. And a guy like Skip Schumacher is going to bring that value. And, that's why he was the bench coach of the Padres. He's bench coach with the Cardinals now. He's the guy
the
that
Cardinals,
everybody wants.
I know this is going to hurt the Reds fans' feelings, but the Cardinals have 2 of my favorite staffers on their team right now. Skip and assistant hitting coach is Turner Ward, who was my hitting coach in 19 with Cincy, who is also he is also one of the best human beings I have ever met. I still talk to him fairly often because he lives in Mobile, which is not far from. It's about 45 minutes from me. So that I'm envious of that staff in St. Louis. They got a good one for sure.
Yeah, no, Turner's well liked.
No doubt.
Good folk.
But all right, J.A., hit him with the rapid fire, and we'll let Trent get on with the rest of his day.
I love it. Yeah. So Skyline Chili, does it deserve as much hate as it gets on the internet?
No, it's great. It's great. It is. Okay, here's the one thing. It is the perfect drunk food. Like carbs, you have this big thing of spaghetti, and you have the chili, which like it's not like a Texas chili, it's a meat sauce. It's a Greek dish. And then just it's a bastardized version of a Greek dish. The meat sauce is Greek. And then just a shit ton of cheese. Oh, like the first time I ever had it was like, it was on my interview up here, and it was like 3 a.m, and I was wasted. It was the perfect time to have it. And then it just brings you back those fond memories. No, Skyline's great. It's phenomenal.
I've never had it. So yeah, this is all just
it's
like
great.
my
I mean, the
research.
thing is like people, it doesn't look good. And people expect a chili and like a Texas chili con carne, and it's not that. It's a meat sauce, but it's fantastic.
What is your favorite baseball game you've seen in person?
Oh, that's a great one.
There's gotta be a few of them for you.
There's a few, like, I've seen some no-hitters. I've seen some playoff games. I was at the 99 All-Star game at Fenway. I was at Brian O'Grady's debut.
Most importantly,
I don't know. Like, it's tough to beat that Pirates Reds game that was just a blowout and then Amir went nuts at. That is one. Scooter Jeanette's 4-homer game. 4 homers.
That's
in a
good
game.
one.
It was
really
unbelievable.
I forgot
you're
about
just sitting
that.
there. It's like he can't do it. He did what? And it's tough. It's tough to beat. Like, I've been at a couple no hitters, but 4-homer game, like 2-homer game. Like if you hit 2 homers in a game, like holy shit, that's a great day. Like pack them up. I'm done for the day. 3 career day.
Unreal.
4. And this is a guy who had been kind of a backup at the point.
Yeah.
And he hits 4 homers. Get out of here. It was unbelievable.
That's I think that has to be it. I saw that it popped up on my Twitter, like the highlights. I think it happened like it was the anniversary of the day of the year, maybe, or something. And saw on Twitter, and man, the last 2 pitches he hit out too. I'm like, how did he even hit those out? That was unbelievable. You're right. I think that's 4 homers is more. That's more rare than no hitters, right?
Yeah, and I think perfect games too. So
yeah, that's a good one.
What is the stadium with the best and the worst press box?
Oh, good question. Best is the Giants. San Francisco is just beautiful. It's perfect level. It's great. The worst is probably the White Sox. It's out in right field. We're losing a lot of the good press boxes. We used to have like the best seats in the house. Since now in Cincinnati, we were like above the plate and it was great. There's plenty of room to spread out. Now we're kind of in left field, and it's actually down a level, so it's still a nice view. You get to see the check swings. You see different things, and it's okay. Toronto's in way left field, and it takes forever to get to the clubhouse. but like the press box when you're in it is nice. So I give it a little things. Chicago, that's bad. St. Louis is terrible. Like also, well, it's probably Oakland. Let's not fool ourselves. It's Oakland. I mean, like worst stadiums, it's always going to be Oakland. And it's bad. Like it's so bad that, well, I'm told the soda machine's no longer there. They don't even have a soda machine. But before it was RC Cola. That's all you need to know.
Nice.
And so yeah, it was bad. Washington and Pittsburgh, like Washington, you need a Sherpa. And like, you know, instead of like a soda fountain, they need like an oxygen bar because you were so high up there in Pittsburgh. I hear the same about the new Texas one, but at least you're indoors. So I think there might be artificial gravity. So yeah, so but it's probably Oakland. Yeah.
That's funny. What did McCarthy say, J.A.? Didn't he say San Fran and Washington?
Yeah, I know people crap all over Washington because you're right. It's like 10,000 feet above sea level. But yeah, I think San Francisco.
San Francisco's
I think
best.
he did say.
Yeah.
I think he said San Fran's best.
It's
too.
beautiful.
That's funny.
It's great. It's right behind home plate. It's down. You see, Houston used to be like that, and then they moved it up. And yeah, I hate Wrigley too. Oh God, I would press the button to blow that fucking place up. Everything except for the home clubhouse smells like piss. Everything in that place. I'm not wrong, am I, Brian?
I don't remember the smell of Wrigley. I liked Wrigley when I was there, so I can't. But I do remember the clubhouse is very far from the dugout. I will say that.
It is one open, like, urinal trough. Like, that's what, you know, like when you go in and they have the trough, which they do at Wrigley. That's what the whole freaking stadium smells like to me.
Oh, my
true story.
God.
I go down to the home clubhouse. They redid it. It's like a club. It's ridiculous. But like, I go down there and my first thing, and I said this just as a reaction, I didn't think about this. It's like, oh my God, it doesn't smell like urine in here, because the whole place stinks. And then you have to, there's like, from the press box, you have to go through the crowd to get to the clubhouse. And like most places, there's a back way, not Wrigley. So it's actually nice when the Cubs win, because people stay to sing that stupid fucking song. And you can get halfway down the stairs before the song is over if you're quick. And it cuts down on your time. It's all about me.
Spoken like a true Cincinnati.
It is nothing to do with that. I loved Wrigley growing up and going to it. Great place to visit. You don't want to live there. Like if I didn't go there like 10 times a year, I'd be all for it. Otherwise, I'll take the Trop. Trop has a great press box. I love the Trop.
I love it.
See that one coming. I just have two more for you. So you have a Hall of Fame vote, and I think, are you still the BBWAA president right now?
No, that was the 1 year thing. So that was
okay.
That was last year. This is my Hall of Fame notebook. I keep it right here. This is where I do all my like research and stuff. I write in it.
That'll play well into the question.
That's how nice. That's how it should be. Love that.
Like you see these like little tabs. Like, yeah, you can see this tabs for like Kurt Schilling, Mike Mussina, Andrew Jones. I write on them. So I always have them. Manny, Edgar. I mean, it goes back.
That's awesome.
Helton,
Larry
Walker, number one.
No messing around. See, that's amazing.
It's a serious.
I probably spend 100 hours a year on my Hall of Fame ballot.
I love that. My question.
That makes me feel very good.
Who's the one person that you voted for you really liked, but you felt like you were in the minority in that opinion?
I mean, for a while, it was Larry Walker. I was probably higher on Larry Walker than anybody, because my thing with Larry Walker is there was like nothing on the field that Larry Walker couldn't do. You know, he was a plus base runner. Even like, you know, they changed those, or they kind of added metrics later. And like even late in his career, he graded out when his speed was gone as one of the best base runners, because he was so smart, such a smart base runner. Could hit for power, The year he led the National League in home runs, he hit more home runs away from Coors than he did at Coors. He hit for average. He had just a hose. He was a good defender. Larry got in, and I'm glad. I believe greatly that he deserved it, and I was on that train for a long time. I haven't voted for Billy Wagner just because of the way I do it, but like I think Billy Wagner, you look at Wagner and Hoffman, and they're really similar. I'm just looking at my list this year. I guess Todd Helton, Andrew Jones. Yeah, I mean, there's so many great players, and I usually vote for 10. And it just like I would vote for more if I could, and the BBWA asked to vote for more, and the Hall of Fame said no. So we did not make the rule of 10. We do not particularly like the rule of 10, but I see more than 10 Hall of Famers on that ballot, most ballots.
Okay. Real quick, because I think this is very interesting, and I know we've been going for a while, but
whatever.
Is it mostly like, without giving away all your things for the Hall of Fame, is it purely like a stats thing, or do you take into account what you saw with your own eyes too?
I take everything in.
Yeah,
I talk to like fellow players. I talk to scouts. I talk to coaches. I talk to a lot of people. I do the same thing with my MVP and Cy Young ballots, where I talk to a lot of people. There's a lot of the stats involved. I do a lot of research. I do a lot, and it's hard. It's really hard. But it's something in the end I enjoy. It's a good thought experiment, and it's not just that. It's not just the numbers. I mean, some are easy, like Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah, I'm going to vote for Ken Griffey Jr. Although, funny story on that. So, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and so is Ken. So, in 2015, this was the year he was up, was when the new Star Wars started coming out. And he went to the premiere, and he sends me a text of him at the premiere. And I send him a text back, says, "Motherfucker, I haven't turned in my Hall of Fame ballot. If you spoil this for me, I'm not voting for you." And he's like, "Call me when you've seen it." I go, Ken, I'm going to a midnight show. It's going to be 3:00. He says, "I don't care. Call me." So as God is my witness, at 3 a.m, after watching The Force Awakens, I call Ken Griffey Jr. and we talked for about an hour about Star Wars.
That's phenomenal. That's awesome. That's a great story.
So yeah, that's Ken. He's a good dude. I like last year at the Hall of Fame ceremony, there was a reception the night before, and as BBWA president, I was there, and I was part of all that. And I get in there, and I'm just going to say hi to a couple people and shake hands, make an appearance. I do like the little receiving line with everybody, and I feel a hand on my shoulder. He's like, "Trent," and I look over, it's Ken. He's like, "Come here." And so I had dinner. It was me, Ken, Edgar Martinez, and Edgar's wife. And so we just talked for a couple hours there. Later, Barry Larkin comes over. Fergie Jenkins does this. Frank Thomas comes over. I can't even remember who all came over. And they're like guys who are just been like, at one point, I think Barry says to me, and I know Barry pretty well. Barry is just like, or maybe it was Frank. They're like, "Hey, you're the only one who actually has a vote. What do you think about this?" And I'm like, this is insane. Ferguson Jenkins is asking me what I think. It's pretty cool. Like it's one of the coolest parts of my life. To be able to do that. The year that Griffey got in, last year was a little different than everybody because of COVID and everything. but still, like having breakfast next to Derek Jeter was interesting in Cooperstown. um, I had breakfast with Mariano Rivera, and like a 2-hour breakfast with Mariano Rivera and Tony Clark, which was something. And but anyway, a couple of years ago, this is kind of how I sum it up. I will always tell the story. They would do like this kind of reception the night before the induction, and you're in the plaque room with all the plaques, you know. And I'm sitting there, I'm waiting behind Cal Ripken Jr. for a beer in line. I see Randy Johnson pointing out his plaque to somebody. I look over and there is Juan Marichal and Pedro Martinez just in a corner talking. And I'm like, this is amazing. I steer clear of George Brett because that's the only person I'm intimidated and scared, you know, that I actually like, would I do the Chris Farley show thing with George Brett. And so I kind of got to go to this corner and Barry sees me. Barry's like, T, what's up, bro? Like, Barry, this is weird. And he goes like, yeah, I know. I was like, Barry, I don't belong here. And he's like, bro, I don't belong here. Like, Barry, fuck you. Look, that's you. That's your face in bronze. He's like, no, man, I don't belong here. And like, it's crazy to me that a guy like that, whose face was in bronze on the wall, was still felt that way looking around and seeing all these players. It's a moment I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And so like I think about that when I do my voting. I think about that. And to be, this is not just me being a company man, but to be honest, the vast majority of voters do the same thing. There are some that are the loudest and the dumbest and most ridiculous that do not. And I'm not going to deny that they aren't there, but it's tough. And it's like the you have to get 75%. Think about it. Like you get 75% of people to agree on anything. Like, okay, Brian, think about this as easy. Like if you went around the clubhouse, do you think 75% of the people in the clubhouse could agree if they were getting free pizza, what the fucking toppings would be? Like even something that silly, they're not going to agree. To get 75%, even though the answer is simply you get pepperoni and cheese, everybody's happy. I believe in that greatly for a large group. But like to have an agreement 75% is unbelievably difficult. And it's weird to be a part of that group. But I take it very, very seriously, as I said.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Brian's frozen, but the Hall of Fame stuff's fascinating.
So it's looking good.
Yeah. It's just, I love the Hall of Fame debate. It's like my favorite time of the year is when we get to debate that. And you know, I've been to the Hall of Fame twice. It's so cool, but I just have one last thing for you. So thank you so much for coming on the pod. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
It's funny. It goes back to my 10th grade English teacher. And it's about writing. And she would say this all the time. You'd ask her like, hey, Miss Caldwell, how long does this need to be? She says, you know, she said a well-written story is like a woman's skirt. It's long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. And it's so funny. Like I think about that all the time. Like, and so that's kind of like, it's a like a niche, like not life advice, but it's what I do. And so I think about that all the time, you know, like, oh, this should be long enough to cover the subject, short enough to keep it interesting.
That's fantastic. That's all I had. Brian, I'm glad to see you're back.
Yep, I came back. Sorry, guys, my internet went out for a second there, but I just was going to let you guys do your thing and finish it off. But Trent, man, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure having you on here and catching up. It's good to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. In the off season, I'll try to go visit my sister and we'll catch up in Pensacola.
There you go, man. If you get down there, let me know. I will gladly take you out to breakfast or something down there. We'll have to,
most
so,
definitely.
for sure.
I probably will be there this offseason. So
Cool.
let's
So you
let's
got my
plan on it.
number. Shoot me a text.